बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलामु आलैकुम। विषय कोड 66351। विषय केमिकल इंजिनियरिंग ऑपरेशन 3। पंचम पर्व डिप्लोमा इन इंजिनियरिंग केमिकल टेक्नोलॉजी। আমি আবু মোহাম্মদ আতিকুল্লাহ, ইনস্ট্রাক্টর রেফ্রিজারেশন অ্যান্ড এয়ার কন্ডিশনিং, ঢাকা পলিটেকনিক ইনস্টিটিউট, তেজগাঁও শিল্প এলাকা, ঢাকা 1208। এই সেশন শেষে আমরা যা শিখব, কেমিক্যাল ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং অপারেশন 3 সিলেবাস সম্পর্কে ধারণা, জিও বা জেনারেল অবজেক্টিভস এবং এসও বা স্পেসিফিক অবজেক্টিভস সম্পর্কে ধারণা, টিপিসি, টিসি এবং টিএফ, পিসি এবং পিএফ সম্পর্কে ধারণা, নম্বর বন্টন এবং তত্ত্বীয় ও ব্যবহারিক সম্পর্কে ধারণা ইত্যাদি। বাংলাদেশ টেকনিক্যাল এডুকেশন বোর্ড ফিফথ সেমিস্টার TPC Theory Practical Credit, TC Theory Continuous Assessment 40 মার্ক, TF Theory Final 60 নম্বর, PC Practical Continuous 25 মার্ক, PF প্র্যাকটিক্যাল ফাইনাল 25 মার্ক, মোট 150 মার্ক। বিষয়বস্তু সংক্ষেপে শর্ট ডেসক্রিপশন। বেসিক কনসেপ্টস অফ হিউমিডিফিকেশন, ডিহিউমিডিফিকেশন, সাইকোমেট্রি, size reduction of solids, crushers and grinders, size separation of particles, different screening equipment, separation of particles in fluid, centrifugal sedimentation, mixing equipment, basic concept of evaporation, capacity and economy of evaporators. তত্ত্ব বা থিওরি। General objectives GO 1. Understand the basic concept of humidification, dehumidification and psychrometry. প্রথম অধ্যায়। Specific objectives SO 1.1. Define humidification, dehumidification and psychrometry. 1.2. Define the terms humidity, humidity of saturated gas, relative humidity, absolute humidity, percentage humidity, humid heat, humid volume, saturated volume, dew point, dry bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature. 1.3 Explain the relation between the partial pressure of the vapor and the humidity of the gas. 1.4. Describe the method of measurement of humidity. 1.5. Describe a ceiling psychrometer. Explain the psychrometric chart. General objectives 2. Understand the humidifier and dehumidifier. 2.1. State the method of humidification of air. 2.2. Describe humidifying tower. Describe humidifier. Mention the different types of humidifier and dehumidifier. Describe the construction and working principle of humidifier. Explain natural draft cooling tower. Describe mechanical draft cooling tower. General objectives geotheory তৃতীয় অধ্যায়. Understand the size reduction of solids. Specific objectives SO 3.1. Define size reduction. 3.2. State the purpose of size reduction. 3.3. Explain Kick's, Rittinger's and Bond's law for energy calculation in size reduction operation. 3.4. Solve problems related to Kick's law, Rittinger's law and Bond's law. Explain the terms free crushing, choke feeding, open circuit grinding and closed circuit grinding. Geo 4. Understand the crusher and grinder. Specific objectives 4.1. List the different types of crushing equipment. Describe the construction, working principle and use of the jaw crusher. 4.3. Describe the working principle of gyratory crusher. Describe the construction of hammer mill and the edge runner mill. Describe the working principle of crushing rolls. Describe the construction and working principle of roller mill. 4.7. Describe the construction, working principle and use of ball mill. Geo 5. Understand the size separation of particles according to their size using skinning equipment. Specific objectives 5.1. Define size separation of solids. 5.2. Define screen and standard screen series. 5.3. Compare between ideal and actual screen. Define capacity and effectiveness of screen. 5.5. Define skinning equipment. 5.6. Compare between shaking and vibrating skinners in size separation. 5.7. Describe the construction and working principle of magnetic separator. 5.8 Describe cyclone separator and its working principle. GO6 ষষ্ঠ অধ্যায় Understand the separation of particles in fluid. 6.1 Explain the size separation of particles in a fluid by settling method. 6.2 Describe the construction and working principle of gravity settling tank. 6.3 Describe the method of separation of particles by an illuminator. Explain the method of separation of particles by double cone classifier. 6.5 Describe the method of separation of particle by Door classifier. 6.6 Describe the method of separation of particle by magnetic separator. GO7 সপ্তম অধ্যায় Understand the centrifugal sedimentation. Specific objectives. 7.1 Mention the principle of centrifugal sedimentation. 7.2 List the sedimentation centrifuges. 7.3 Describe a door thickener and disc centrifugage. 7.4 Mention the uses of thickener and classifiers in chemical industry. 7.5 Describe a multi-chamber centrifugage. 7.6 Describe a horizontal helical conveyor centrifugage. 7.7 Mention the uses of centrifuges in chemical industries. General objectives. GO8 অষ্টম অধ্যায় Understand the basic concept of mixing. Mixing সম্পর্কে প্রাথমিক ধারণা. Specific objectives. 8.1 Define mixing. Mixing কি? 8.2 Mention regions of mixing of materials in industries. 8.3 Explain the important properties of materials which influence the mixing operation. 8.4 Describe the method of mixing of solid particles. 8.5 Describe the method of mixing of liquids and solid gas and liquids with propellers and turbines. 8.6 Explain the degree of mixing. GO9 Understand the different types of mixing equipment. Specific objectives. 9.1 List the equipment used in mixing liquids with liquids. 9.2 Describe the equipment used in mixing viscous masses. 9.3 Describe the equipment used in mixing solid with solid. 9.4 Describe the equipment used in mixing gas with liquids. 9.5 Describe the equipment used in mixing solid with liquid. 9.6 Describe pedal double motion paddle and anchor paddle. 9.6. Describe a kneader machine, screw type mixer, dough mixer, double cone mixer and propeller agitator. Geo 10 Dosham Adhyay. Understand the basic concept of evaporation and evaporation equipments. Specific objectives. 10.1 Define evaporation. Evaporation bolte ba বাষ্পায়ন bolte ki বোঝায়? 10.2 Mention the equipment, important and applications of evaporation in chemical industries. 10.3 Mention the liquid characteristics which influence the boiling point of liquid. 10.4 Describe vacuum operation in evaporation. 10.5 Explain foaming in evaporation. 10.6 Make a list of different types of evaporator. 10.7 Describe horizontal type short tube evaporator. 10.8 Explain standard type vertical tube evaporator. 10.9 Explain long tube type vertical evaporator. General objectives. 11. Understand the multiple effect evaporators. Specific objectives. 11.1 Define multiple effect evaporator. 11.2 Explain the general principle of multiple effect evaporation. Draw the flow diagram of different method of feeding system of multiple effect evaporators. 11.4 Mention the comparison of forward feed and backward feed in multiple effect evaporators. 11.5 Describe evaporator capacity and evaporator economy. 11.6 Describe the effect of feed temperature and superheat temperature in evaporation. 11.7 Mention the effect of condensate temperature in the evaporator system. 11.8 Mention the scale formation in evaporator. Geo 12 অধ্যায় Understand the evaporator accessories. এই অধ্যায়টাই শেষ। Specific objectives. SO 12.1 Make a list of evaporator accessories. 12.2 Describe condenser. কন্ডেন্সারের বর্ণনা বা সংজ্ঞা। 12.3 Distinguish between surface condenser and contact condenser. 12.4 Explain counter current and parallel current condensers. 12.5 Mention the function of vacuum pump and steam jet ejector. 12.6 Describe different types of steam trap. প্র্যাকটিক্যাল বা ব্যবহারিক। Mix solid particles with other types of solid particles homogeneously using a pan mixer, for example sugar with flour. 2 number job, grind the supplied solid material stone for size reduction using ball milling. 3 number job holo classify the solid particles using a set of standard Skinners and vibrator shape shaker. Job number 4, crush the stone bricks into small pieces by using jaw crusher. Job number 5, separate the crushing stone particles by using gauge lace. Job number 6, identify the main components and the accessories of pilot plant evaporator and draw net sketch. ছবি অঙ্কন করতে হবে। Job number 7, evaporate the sugar or salt solution by standard type evaporator. Job number 8, operate the pilot plant evaporator and find out the rate of evaporation of liquid to concentrate solution. Job number 9, separate solid materials from a solution by using centrifugage. Job number 10, operate the sedimentation unit to separate solid particles from slurry. এই মোট 10টা জব আছে এই সাবজেক্টে। Thanks. Any question you can find me at এই ক্লাসটি পুনরায় দেখতে ভিজিট করো। ইউটিউব লিংক হলো। ধন্যবাদ সকলকে। থ্যাংক ইউ ফর অল। ধন্যবাদ।